We don't need this anymore, do we? No way, Jose. Time, yeah. It's beginning to look not like this anymore. I enjoyed my holiday. How about you? Um, I was actually challenged by this. I had a conversation with a college president yesterday who, and I resonate with this. She said, I like the holiday, which means on the calendar, we had that day to celebrate, and I celebrated. But the days before, where I had a chunk of time off, and the days after, where I had a chunk of time off, I had lots of really important stuff to do for the benefit of our community, our campus. And I so appreciated that. Not to say, wow, our leaders don't need time to, but how much time? I'm going to get myself into trouble. Don't shut me off yet, okay? I believe recharge is good, but there's something honestly about the month of November through like mid-January, where November people just start, okay, seats in your upright position, trade tables up. We just start coming in for this landing, don't we? And it's a full month with a little turkey day in there, and then it's just this off to the races thing, and then to try to like start moving again after this long sedentary, haven't moved but just indulged for, it's not everybody, but it's just kind of that attitude on the inside of this badge of honor that says, you know what, I didn't touch my computer for 3 weeks. Well, dude, maybe there's a few people that needed you to do that so that we crawled into this year rocking and ready to go. Okay, I'm done. I'm off the stump. It's January 6th, I believe, right? Was your first cabinet meeting today, or was it this morning, right? Uh, and let's just be brutally honest with each other. You probably already know what happened. You walked in, you did what you've done every single January for 4 years, right? You pretended the last 6 months didn't just prove exactly why your next 6 months are going to be a struggle. Here, just it's a math problem. That retention initiative that you launched in July, it was dead by October. Be honest with me, with thousands of dollars wasted. That academic program revision from convocation, it's tabled in September. Again, thousands of dollars in committee time and consultant fees. Gonzo. It's a new day. It's a new game, isn't it, folks? Right? That culture of collaboration that you promised the board, your cabinet still can't coordinate lunch without just these territorial, call them just violations. Right? Added up, my guess is over $100,000, maybe even $200,000 in failed initiatives from one semester home alone. Yeah, not because your team lacks talent. You've hired the best because you keep building skyscrapers on this foundation that is more like jello, right? Here's the lie. You maybe told yourself this morning, this time will be different. We just need to refocus, right? Our folks need renewed energy. We need fresh priorities, right? And here's the truth that you already know, but won't say it out loud. Nobody will. Your July priorities didn't fail because they were the wrong priorities. You nailed them. They failed because your foundation can't support them. That's the reality. You've allowed, to be dreading. You are allowed to be just dreading that next cabinet meeting. Every superintendent and president I work with has walked into that January meeting feeling the weight of knowing that what worked in theory somehow dies in practice by March. Yeah, I've been in the loneliness of leadership where you just know something fundamentally isn't working, but you don't know how to name it or how to draw a picture or whiteboard around that without admitting the last 6 months revealed a pattern that you Haven't been embracing, you've been avoiding. But here's what really matters. When you keep attempting, we call it level 5 work. And that standard operating, just your competencies as a leader. If you're attempting that on level 1 infrastructure, students are paying the price and they can see it. They can honestly just see it, right? They're very aware. They're experiencing fragmented support, like what gives. They get contradictory guidance. They feel the chaos of adults who just can't coordinate. Right today, right now, it's January 6th. It's either the moment that you see this clearly or the day that you guarantee another 6 months of the same expensive cycle. Let me show you what's actually happened. Let's talk about what actually happened probably this morning during your cabinet meeting. You gathered, the same cabinet asked, hey, what should our priorities be for spring semester? As if the answer exists somewhere other than in the data you're about to ignore from the last 6 months, right? That you just lived through. Here's what actually happened. Your CFO probably suggested some budgetary transparency initiative that you launched in July and stopped discussing in October when it became clear nobody actually wanted transparency. They just wanted to protect their territory. Maybe your CAO proposed academic program restructuring that died in September when it just required your actual decisions about resource allocation to be made with some bravery and courage, boss. Right? Easier to blame, resistance to change. We just had resistance to change than admit that nobody had the courage to make the cuts. Right? Your VP of enrollment floated, hey, a reimagining. Don't you love that one? Reimagining a recruitment strategy. That's basically the July strategy with a different adjective and a Canva template, because what failed in the fall will definitely work in the spring if we just believe harder. Might be in too harsh. Someone said, hey, what if we just focus on a few key priorities? Everybody goes, that would be nice. Right? You still ended up with 14 because that's our way. By lunch, you had polished documents, strategic priorities and pillars, impressive sounding metrics, a timeline, probably requiring 40% more capacity than your team demonstrated that it actually had for the next 6 months. Nobody asked, why didn't our July priorities work? Because that would have been dangerous. What does that gap teach us? What foundations are actually missing? Here's the uncomfortable math from our research of nearly 1,000 teams like yours. 73% of cabinets operate between that level 1 and level 2 of a level 5 system. Level 5 is what you need in order to operate highly efficient and highly effective. They're hovering right around 73%, which is a big herd of people, right, with fancy degrees and preferred parking spots hovering in that 1 to 2. They're talented, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, they are talented, but their ability to actually integrate their talent, it becomes this basic trust, hero dependent system while everybody's attempting to do level 5 work. Level 5 work of managing change, that's level 5 work. Resolving conflict is level 5 work. Coordinating across division, that's level 5 work. Average cabinet, maybe 140,000 per member, perhaps. 8 members. How many do you have on your cabinet? 8? That's over $1 million. 1.1 in compensation. Their collective performance is about 60% capacity. That's over a $400,000 gap, boss. That's your foundational problem. And it's like wearing this cute little turtleneck right now. Right. Let me tell you what happened with this superintendent. I'll call her Maria. July 2024, she launched a retention initiative. It required the academic affairs and student services to actually coordinate. almost close to collaborate, but we're not going to take it that far. Both divisions, they nodded enthusiastically. She felt really, really hopeful, but by October, academic affairs was sending student to advisors with schedules that student services was unaware of, and student services was creating support plans that academic affairs weren't involved in or weren't tracking. Students got contradictory guidance. Faculty were frustrated, and the staff worked weekends manually bridging all of these gaps. The same staff, you know who they are, that work weekends, right? Then the initiatives didn't fail because people didn't care. They cared deeply. It failed because Maria had zero infrastructure for cross-divisional coordination, a foundational standard operating practice, no clear decision-making process. Who actually decides when to intervene with struggling students, right? No escalation pathway when priorities are actually competing. Academic affairs needed just some more faculty time. Student services needed some faculty time as well, but who decides? Right? No shared language for resolving conflicts. Academic rigor meant different things to different divisions, and alignment really just never happened. It's not Maria's failure, it's the system's failure. Let's just be honest. Here's what's happening. We promote people based upon their individual excellence. Brilliant teachers become principals, brilliant principals become superintendents, brilliant academic becomes provosts and presidents. But we never really teach them how to build collective intelligence, right? How to help brilliant individuals think collectively instead of performing just this thing called fake collaboration, right? And this morning, perhaps we proposed a refined retention strategy, maybe with better communication protocols and definitely with more frequent check-ins. Boss, it's going to fail again, okay? Not because your team won't try, because your foundation can't support what you're asking it to carry. You can't strategize your way out of it's just math, right? But here's what you can do differently. 3 questions that could change everything. Please do this right now. Pull out your last July strategic priorities right now. Pull them out. They're in that 3-ring binder right over there, and give it a before you, because you don't want to get that on your computer screen. Right? Pull it out. Ask yourself these 3 questions, and you're alone, so be honest. Okay. Question 1: what did actually happen between July and December? Look back. What's on that strategic plan document? What did you actually attempt? Look at it. And which priorities did you really try to execute? And include those quiet ones. You know, we tried to get cabinet to communicate honestly instead of performing that theater stuff that they usually, right? That's the quiet stuff. You know, we hope department chairs would step up so we could, you know, they wouldn't be the bottleneck. Or we just want it to feel less reactive and more strategic. That's not in a document any place, but it's part of the conversations that the walls have heard from you for a number of months. You spent November in crisis mode again. Yeah, write them down, all of them. No judgment, just data. Right? Question 2: where? Let's call it where. Where did things actually stall? You know, without blame, without immediately jumping into fixes. Just notice, where did things not work? The retention initiative required coordination you don't have the infrastructure for. Write it down. That data-driven decision-making process you abandoned in September when enrollment dropped and everybody was doing the fireman's carry, right? You made cuts based upon politics instead of data. That empowering the middle leadership until they made hiring decisions and your cabinet overruled them because we need to be strategic. Translation, trust you middle managers, deans, directors, principals. You see the pattern, right? Question 3: what is this revealing about your foundation? What foundation are you missing that would make these initiatives actually possible? Not what's wrong with us, wrong question. Not who's to blame, wrong question. It's what infrastructure gaps do these failures reveal? Again, it's a systems issue. It's not a take your eyes off the people and move it to the backstage, behind the stage, your system. Yeah. So, old story. Our retention initiatives failed because people won't coordinate. I've heard that from the head of the table before. How about a new story? Our retention initiatives revealed we have no system for cross divisional coordination. Fair. We expect collaboration through wishful thinking. We can't fix retention until we build coordination infrastructure, the ability to collaborate. Or an old story, we're not really data driven. How about a news story? Under pressure, we default to politics because we've never really practiced data driven decisions when the stakes are low. We need to build the muscle before the next crisis. Old story, our middle leaders can't handle responsibility. News story, when we tried to empower them, our cabinet took control back, right? That's not a middle leadership problem. That's a cabinet trust problem. Let's just call the infrastructure out. We've got trust issues. We have empowerment issues. We have collaboration issues. We have managing change issues. We have managing conflict issues. We have developing people issues. All of these are foundational issues. Do you see the difference? Yeah. Yeah. So there are a number of leaders that I could point to that are doing this right. A number that come to mind and just make me smile. That we're doing really the foundational work. They were clarifying their decision-making process. They were building coordination protocols, collaboration protocols. They were actually practicing. This was fun. Practicing the difficult conversations when the stakes were low, and creating accountability that didn't rely on just heroic efforts by the corner office. Yeah. And maybe last July, these were the ones that launched 5 core priorities, not 12 or 14, just 5. And where they're sitting right now, they're on track. They are on track to see all 5 of those fulfilled on time, on budget, as expected. And the board is happy. Yeah. I actually heard from a leader just recently who told me, Joe, I spent like 3 years trying to just strategize my way out of these foundational problems that you talk about. The moment I admitted we just needed to build differently, not plan better, but actually build the infrastructure, Joe, everything changed. It's not simple, but it sounds that easy, doesn't it? Same people, you're going to have the same people. You're going to have the same challenges. You're just going to have a different foundation. So here's what's at stake. You really have 2 options, right? And we're going to bring this in for a landing. You do what you've always done. Walk into your next meeting, create 10 to 14 renewed priorities, and then just watch them stall by the time we're all watching the Final Four in March, right? You call it a strategic pivot in June, and you're going to repeat that again next January. But you're going to be that much closer to retirement, boss, without a whole lot of things changing. Got my dukes up for you, but I need to challenge you. Option 2, you can this week just be more honest with yourself. Pull out July's priorities. Ask the 3 questions. Walk into the next meeting and say, before we create any new priorities, let's examine what the last 6 months tried to teach us about our foundation here. Option 1 is going to be way easier, and you're probably going to get a pay bump by the end of the year too, boss, right? It's just familiar. It's expected. Option two, it's going to be terrifying. Gulp to your people, your cabinet, probably your board. It means admitting something fundamentally just isn't working. But here's what I know after working with nearly 1,000 leadership teams, 5 years from now, I hope you're still around, right? Maybe you'll have emeritus by your name, right? You'll either still be in this cycle or you have built something different. I really hope that you're a builder. You're not a climber, just looking for that next opportunity. You're not a coaster that says, I've got 3 more years until I hit my state's retirement point system. Don't be a coaster. Or even a dreamer where you sit back and go, well, here's what I'm thinking about, but never really crawling into that octagon. Your team right now is at 60% capacity, even well rested, and you've got a 100% workload. That's 0% sustainable, boss. The industrial model just gave you that math, then told you to fix it with better planning. It's not working, right? The question isn't whether your cabinet has talent. You have hired some extraordinary people, right? The question is whether they built the collective infrastructure to multiply that talent. If you're stuck, we can help. You can't strategize your way out of a foundational problem. You have to build different, and don't look to your right and don't look to your left, because there are a lot of bad models out there that are delivering the same average, mediocre results. That's redundant. Average, mediocre results. But it's not good, right? Here's what you can do right now. Pull out your priorities from last July. Be bold. Say, what did we actually attempt? Where did things stall? And what does this reveal about our foundation? And then get ready. Walk into your next cabinet meeting and say, hey, before we create anything new, right, let's examine what the last 6 months have tried to teach us about our foundation. If this hits home, if something I said today just clarifies what you've been experiencing, message me. You know where to find me. You found me here. I genuinely love to hear it. If you have a question about building foundation first infrastructure with your team, reach out. Let's have a virtual coffee. These are the best parts of my everyday. Okay. We've figured out a lot of stuff and it's working for a lot of people out there. But there are more that are just struggling in the sea of sameness right now. So that's what I do. That's what we build. And if there's anything I can help you to just reach breakthrough, many of you are broken down. Let's get to breakthrough performance, whether that's working together, pointing you towards the right resources, or just being a sounding board. Circle back. I'm here. Higherperformancegroup.com is the website, but you know where to find me here, right? We've spent about 18 months building a systematic solution to this exact problem. It's called the Team Institute. It's not real sexy. It's really just the foundational work. 8-session sequential system that transforms that 60% very talented cabinet at 60% capacity into multiplication engines that are actually developing your people to build better. We've piloted this with almost 50 leadership teams, and she's ready to go. Yeah. And we're seeing 3 times performance improvement, almost 30% higher engagement scores between baseline and benchmark testing, and 25%-ish better organizational outcomes with zero burnout. And that's what I love about this. Our core leaders are going home on time, and they're being the family members that they're called to be, even more so than they are called to be these team builders, right? That's what we're most proud of. So if you're ready to build differently, systematically, with sustained accountability, let's talk. You know where to find me, higherperformancegroup.com. Yeah, we'll even kick in some early bird pricing. Everything has a dealio in January, right? Yeah, let's talk. You can comment below. What's a priority from July that just died at Thanksgiving? Have some fun. Let's keep this engaging. Next week, we're going to talk about, let's talk about your cabinet, treating coordination or collaboration like telepathy, right? And wonders why nothing works. We're just going to dig deeper into this. So I so appreciate you. Yeah. So appreciate you and the work that you're doing. You can do this. Your team can do this. Uh, but only if you start. And why not? Let's start this week. Peace, friends.